Hi guys, Baby Styling here. You're welcome back to another tutorial. In today's video, we'll be making this beautiful dress. The one in the middle is the style inspiration, and the one on the side is the recreation. If this is what you're interested in, kindly keep on watching. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. And to my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Without wasting much time, let's get into the video. So first thing, I'm going to mark here half of the shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'm going to mark it here, and I'll come down by 1 inch over here. For the neck width, I'm marking 3.5 inches wide and 3 inches depth. Okay, so now I'm going to connect the neck and the shoulder slope. So from the shoulder line, I will mark the shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to waistline, and I will be adding 1.5 for seam allowance. And so I'm going to mark the same thing on this part as well, and I will connect all of them with a straight line. So from this part, I'm going to mark the armhole depth, and how I got that will be on the screen. So I'm just going to mark the shoulder width here to get a straight line, and then I'll connect all my dots. Over here, I'm going to divide these 2 points by 2, and on that dot I'll come in by ½ inch. Then I'm going to mark the armhole curve. On this line, which is the bust point, I will mark half of the bust span measurement, which is 4.5 on that, and also mark it on the waistline. Connect it to a straight line, and on this side of the line, I'm going to go inwards by 2.5. okay, I'll mark it, and on the other side I came in by 1 inch, and I also mark the same thing on the under bust. So here I'm just leveling it, bust point, under bust, waistline, and the seam allowance. So I'm just going to connect these 2 dots with a straight line, and I'll also connect this part with a straight line. Okay, on the bust point, I'll come downwards by 1 inch, and then I'll connect this to meet this point, and then I'm going to connect the other side also. Next is to connect the bust point to meet this. I'm just going to use my curve ruler and connect it just like so, and from this point I'll come down by 2 inches, and on that mark that I made there, I'll connect it back to meet the bust point. So from here, I'm just going to extend this point here by 2 inches, and I'll connect it like so, and then I'm going to mark the armhole. So this is the new armhole. I'm just going to mark out this other one. This is the one, that the line we're going to be making use of. We're going to do all the adjustments much later. So next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the bust measurement divided by 4. That's quarter of the bust measurement. Replace the dart intake, and I added 2 inches for seam allowance. On the under bust, I'm going to mark quarter of the under bust measurement, replace the dart intake, and then I'll add 2 inches seam allowance. And on the waistline as well, I'm going to mark quarter of the waist measurement, replace the dart intake, and then 2 inches for seam allowance. And I'm just going to connect all these dots like so. On the bust point line, I will come downwards by 2 inches, and I will connect it to meet this point like so. So this is going to be the bust dart. Okay, so I'm just going to shade this part out, and next is to cut. When I get to the bust point, the bust dart, I'm just going to close up the dart just like you see me do here, and that is it for the front. So moving on to the back, the first thing I'm going to mark here is the zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So the next I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement, come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then the neck width remains 3.5, and the neck depth I'm going to mark 3 inches as well. So I'm just going to connect all these dots. From here I'm going to mark the armhole depth just like so, and I'll mark the shoulder measurement just to get a straight line from this point. From the shoulder line I'm going to mark the chest line, and I'll also mark the back waistline. Please note that the front and the back waistline differs. Okay, so I'm just going to mark it here, and I added 1.5 for seam allowance as well. On this part I'm going to mark half of the bust span measurement, which is 4.5, and I also marked it on the chest line. Then I'll connect with a straight line. So it was at this point I realized that the chest line that I marked there was wrong. It's supposed to go through the armhole line. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel that one and extend this line to meet that new chest line, the original chest line. So I came down from that line by 1 inch, and I took ½ inch on both sides of this line to create our dart. So I'm just going to connect it like so all the way to the waistline. Next I'm going to mark quarter of the bust measurement plus 2 inches for seam allowance. On the waistline I will mark quarter of the waist measurement, replace this dart, and I'll add 2 inches for seam allowance, and I'll extend it to meet the seam allowance here, and I'll connect all the dots just like so, and I'll connect the armhole curve as well. Coming over to this point, I'll go inwards by ½ inch. So we're taking out ½ inch from our zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to connect it like so. This helps your zipper to lap very well on your waistline. So the next thing now is to cut this out. So now we are done with the upper part of the dress. So moving on to the down part, I'll be using one pattern paper for both the front and the back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is that I marked out 3 inches because I'll be using the butt allocation for this down part. So I marked out 3 inches for both the zipper allowance and the butt allocation. Okay, so after that I'm just going to subtract the half length of this dress. The half length is 21 inches, so I counted 8 inches from that point to mark the hip line and the knee line, which is 39 inches. Then the full length of this dress is 67. So as you can see, my tape stopped at 60 inches, so I grabbed the top part of this tape to continue measuring until I got 67, and then I added 2 inches for seam allowance. Sorry, my camera didn't get to that part. And the next thing, I connected all the lines. Here I'm just going to label them: waist, hip, and the knee line and full length. So we're taking our measurement from this point. So I'm just going to mark the waistline, quarter of the waist measurement, and I added 2 inches for seam allowance. On the hip line, I'm going to mark the front hip measurement because we're using the butt allocation. So I marked the front hip measurement and I added 2 inches for seam allowance. And whatever I have there, I'm going to subtract 1 inch from that part and I'll mark it on the knee line. And I also added my 2 inches seam allowance. And then I'm just going to connect all the dots just like so. On the knee line, whatever measurement I have here, I'm going to take it all the way to the hemline. That's including the seam allowance. I will mark the same thing all the way till I get to the down part of this dress. So to draft the back part of this dress, remember I said I will be drafting the front and the back on this pattern paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is to extend the hip line and the knee line. On the hip line, I'm going to mark the back hip measurement towards the center front, as you can see where I marked it. And on the waistline, I will come downwards from the waistline by 2 inches. You can come down by 1.5 or 2 inches, and I will connect these two dots just like so. And from the hip line, I will go downwards by 8 inches or 9 inches, whichever works for you is fine, and I will connect it just like so. As you can see, our butt allocation has formed already. Okay, so now we're going to be adding the zipper allowance of 1.5, following this curve all the way to the hemline. So this is basically it for this pattern, and I'm going to cut this out. So when you're cutting the back, you're just going to use your pattern this way, but when you want to cut the front, you're just going to fold this place inward just like so, and you're going to use it to cut your front piece. Okay, moving on. So here I've gone ahead to cut my main fabric, and I added seam allowance all around these areas, and also I've also gone ahead to cut the lining pieces, and I also cut out my wording. Okay, so this is the wording that I'll be fixing here, and if you follow this pattern, this is the pattern I used to cut out the wording. So it's just going to be on it this way. Okay, that's for the center front, and this is for the side front. So this right here is the back pattern. I've also gone ahead to cut the main fabric and the lining, and I added ½ inch around the armhole. So the next one is the down part, this dress. This is for the front, and also gone ahead to cut the fabric and the lining. The lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. Okay, 2 inches shorter than the main fabric, and this is the back pattern, also 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So moving on, here is the front. I'm going ahead to iron my interfacing and my wording to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to place this, making sure that the underbust match. Okay, don't pay attention to this part, pay attention to the underbust. Okay, so now I'm going to go and join this place all around with ½ inch seam allowance, and I'll also do the same for the other side. Okay, so this is the back. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to go and stitch up my darts for the back. So right here I've gone ahead to sew the front, and I'm also gone ahead to press open, as you can see. So what I usually do is, after press opening, I'm going to cut out a strip of interface and use it to hold it down. It makes the finishing to look much better. Okay, so this is what I have. And for the lining, I've also gone ahead to join my lining pieces, and the lining I don't press open, I top stitch. Okay, as you can see, this is what the inside looks like. So what I do is that I top stitch on the seam and trim the seams down. Okay, so I've also gone ahead to trim my armhole and my half length for this front part. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to reshape the front. Okay, as you can see, the style, the one of the shoulder is off the shoulder, one is on the shoulder. So you're just going to pick the side you want to be on your shoulder, and from that shoulder line I measured about 7 inches. So I'm just going to connect it to meet this neckline, just like so. Okay, so now you're going to indicate your center front, that's the midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'm going to measure about 6 inches. Okay, the person I'm making this dress for is a little bit on the big side, so I'm just going to use 6 inches, and I'll connect it like so. And from that 6 inches, I'm going to blend it to meet the armhole, just like so. And then I'm just going to cut this out, and this is what I have. So I'm just going to use this to cut the lining as well. So for the back, as you can see, I've gone ahead to trim my armhole, my back half length and everything. I'm just going to open this up. Make sure to notch the zipper allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to notch both the top part and the down part. Okay, so I'm just going to open up my back. I'm going to overlap it, making sure that the two notched zipper allowance meet each other. Okay, these 2 points, when you overlap it, make sure that they meet each other, both at the top and at the lower part. Okay, so I'm just going to place it like so, and I will grab the front, placing it right side facing each other, just like you can see me doing here. I'm just going to place it like so, arrange it very well, and I'm going to trace out the same neckline. I'm just going to use my chalk to trace it out, and then I'm going to take out the front. I'm going to cut through the line that I just marked, and that is just it for the back. And if you open it, this is what it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do now is to trim off this sharp place, and that is it. So I'm just going to use this one as well to cut the lining. So what I'm basically doing here is just to place this right side facing each other, and then I'm going to trim down. Now go and join here and here with 1/2 inch similar ones, and I'll also repeat the same thing for the front, placing it right side facing each other. Now go and stitch here with 1/2 inch similar. This is what I have when I'm done, as you can see. I've also gone ahead to top stitch on the lining part. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go and stitch this side with 1/2 inch similar ones, and for the back I've also gone ahead to top stitch and close up the side. So this is what I have. So I'm going to turn this to the right side and iron them properly. So after ironing, this is what I have. This is the two back piece. I'm just going to place them like so, right side facing each other. I'm going to go and stitch here with loose stitches to hold the zipper allowance. So here I've gone ahead to join my shoulder, the front and the back together. So now we're going to cut the sleeves. So I have this fabric here on fold, and the length of this, the wideness of this fabric is about 17 inches. It depends on how wide, how puffy you want your sleeve to be, and the length is about 20 something inches. So what I'm going to do now is just to mark the armhole. Just mark a very bold armhole, because we're going to be pleating some points. We're going to be adding elastic too. So here I'm just going to take out one will be for the side on the shoulder, and this other one will be for the one with off shoulder. So I'm just going to grab this like so. I will place it around this area to match the armhole. Okay, so this is the point where it stops. So we're going to be adding extra 1 inch to 1.5 inches, because we'll be adding elastic to that top part. Okay, so I just marked about 1.5 inches upwards, and then I'm going to rule a straight line just like so, and I'll trim this piece off. And this is what I have. So this upper side, for a normal off shoulder, it should measure around 5.5 to 6 inches. But because we're going to be adding elastic to this top part, so we'll have extra inches, so that when we put your elastic, it's going to give you some puffiness around our side. So here I've gone ahead to add elastic on this top part and also the lower part of the sleeve. So for this other part, I only added on the lower part. Okay, so the next thing now is to grab this top part. We're going to go and fix the sleeve. This one will go for this side. You're going to be gathering some parts, and then this other one will go for this side. And this is what it looks like when I'm done. So moving on now, we're going to the lower part of the dress. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to open up this. This is the front. We're going to place our lining on it like so, right side facing each other, matching this. This is the down part. Then we're going to go and join it with 1/2 inch similar ones, and this is what I have when I'm done. So the next thing we'll do now is to push this forward. Okay, so when you do this, remember the lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So when you push it, you're just going to stitch here up to the top part with 1/2 inch, and also this side as well. So this is what I have when I'm done. So you can see the waist area matches each other. So now the next thing we're going to do is to turn this to the right side, and we're going to go and iron everything flat. We'll also do the same for the back as well. Okay, so this is the back. You can see everything is all sewn and properly ironed. So the next thing is to place this right side facing each other. I'm going to arrange everything very well. So from this point, this is the zipper allowance side. I'm going to go and stitch from this point to about 8 inches. Okay, I'll stitch here with loose stitches, and from here I'm going to measure 9 to 10 inches. That's where the slit will start, and here I'm going to sew it with normal stitch. From here, loose stitches, and here normal stitch. The loose stitch area is the part we're going to be fixing our zipper, and the rest will be the slit opening. So this is what I have when I'm done. As you can see, I used a hemming gum to hold this part. You can also stitch it down if you want. Okay, so the next thing is to grab this front area. So you're going to iron it such that this middle line will be visible. Okay, so we're going to be placing our body measurement. Okay, so we're marking the body measurement on the right side. This will help you to will help to know where to place the flounce, the two flounce on the side. So here I just marked the waistline, the waist measurement, sorry, and the hip. So for the hip, you're going to be marking the front hip measurement. Remember, we used the butt allocation. So the hip you're going to mark here should be your front hip. Okay. So over here, I'm marking the hip, the knee line. That's the knee measurement. Okay, our round thigh, and I'm going to connect all of them, and I will mark the same thing all the way to the hemline. So after that, I'm going to measure this line. I'm going to measure the length. Okay, so from here I'm going to come down by about ½ inch because we'll be joining it to the upper part of this dress. So I'm going to measure from here all the way to the hemline. So what I have is about 47 inches. So I'm going to use this measurement to cut our flounce. Okay, remember to curve your waistline, okay, just like I did here. So now moving on to the cutting of the flounce. So I will be using this black fabric. I'm just going to fold it into two. So you're going to be folding it such that you will have enough space. Okay, so I'm just going to mark this line here, and I will divide this point by 2. So the same measurement I have, I'm going to mark the same thing here just to get the midpoint of this. Okay, so this is where the center is, and I'm just going to mark like a cross here. So on both sides of the cross, I'm going to measure 1 inch. Okay, I'm just going to measure 1 inch on all the sides, and then I will connect it with a circle, just like so. So from here, you're just going to pick any point to be your starting point. Okay, so from here, I'm going to measure the length of the flounce, how long you want your flounce to be. But for me, I made it 5 inches, so I'm just going to mark here. I'm marking 5 inches from here. So now we're going to blend this just like so. You're just going to curve it to meet this point. So now I'm going to clean off this part. Okay, so you're just going to blend it, follow the curve and meet the 5 inch length. So now we're going to follow this circle, and we'll keep marking our 5 inches all around, and connect it with, I'll be connecting it with broken lines. Okay, I'm just going to follow this curve like so, and I will keep marking my 5 inches length. You can make your flounce length any length you want at all. So I'm just going to keep following the curve. Watch carefully to see how I'm marking it. So this is what I have when I'm done. So now the next thing, I'm going to use my pin to hold this because the fabric keeps moving. I'm just going to use my pin to hold it at different points, and then I'm going to cut this. Watch carefully to see how I cut this out. Okay, when you get to this place, you're just going to cut off that starting circle, and this is what the flounce should look like. Right, so this flounce, you're going to make it a little bit longer than 47 inches. Remember, the length we got from our outfit was 47 inches. So here I'm just going to measure it, and I have a little longer than it because I will be pleating it at some point. Okay, so now I'm going to take this end, I'm just going to trim it like so. You can actually leave it the way it was, or you can also trim it off just like I did here. So I'm going to match this other end so that they will look alike. Okay, so I'm just going to do that here. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to take out the pins, and you can see that I have 2 flounce, one for each side. So you can either weave this head with English weaving, or you can hem it. Okay, so me, I will be weaving it. Okay, so this is what I have, and I've also gone ahead to sew it on the front piece. Okay, so this is the reason for the marking of the measurement. So when you're placing your flounce, you're placing it at least 1 inch away from your main measurement. Okay, which is what I've done here. So next is to grab the upper part. We're going to go and join them together on the waistline with ½ inch seam allowance. So here I've done that. The next thing I'm going to do now is to place the body measurement. Okay, so first I'm going to place the round bust measurement. I like to hold mine with pin so it doesn't move when I'm going to go and stitch it on the machine. You can as well mark yours but I like to hold mine with pin. After the bust, the round under bust measurements and the waist measurements. When I get to the waist, I'm going to turn this over to the back. So this is the back, and I'm going to raise this part up. I'm going to arrange my flounce. Okay, so when you're stitching your flounce, make sure the right side is facing the right side of your fabric. So I'm going to close this place up again. Normally when you're measuring, when you're closing your measurement for butt allocation, when you get to this waistline, you should be using the back because of the butt. Okay, so now I'm going to place my hip measurement. You can see how I flipped that side, and I will place in the hip measurement divided by 4. That is what the measurement you're going to be placing here, your hip divided by 4. So I'm going to use my pin to hold it down, and from the waistline I'll keep on pinning it. Because of the flounce, you don't want your flounce to move, okay, from the position that it is. And I'm going to flip this side over like so, and I'm going to place quarter of my hip measurement, okay, and I'm also going to secure it all with pin. As you can see, the flounce is coming out a little bit from this side, and that is how it should be. So I'm going to secure all these parts with pin. Okay, see the way I'm arranging it, and I'll hold it down with pin. Okay, I'll do that all the way to the hemline, and I will take it to my machine and I will sew all this down, and that is basically it for this dress. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.